All right. Good evening, everyone. I'm so excited to have everybody on here and excited that Mary June agreed to host this with me. Mary June is a senior Ruby, correct?
I am, yes.
Awesome. She's a senior Ruby, and she is under Shelly Nisley, so we are partnering with a sideline team to help you, for those of you that are new or seasoned, we have something for both of you. So I am going to turn over to Mary June, and she is going to take the first half of the meeting. And then, depending what time we get done, we will open it up for some questions at the end. So go ahead, Mary June.
Awesome. Yeah, this is fun. As I was going over some things that I thought I wanted to share with, again, this my part of it will be more for maybe the ones that are newbies. Although I think it was good for me just to remind myself of what some of the basics are when I got started, and it kind of energized me as I was thinking about it again, because as a new ambassador, there's the energy and the excitement. You kind of don't know what you're doing, but you're excited to do whatever you're told to do, and you see results and all of that. So it was good for me to go over it, because I don't care. I don't think it matters where you're at in this process. The basics still work, and that's what's really fun about just the consistency of some of this stuff. So when you first hit that join button and you've got you're in for the year and you don't have your products yet. Maybe you were a customer and you have been taking the products, but you don't have your welcome kit and you don't have all of this stuff. And where do you go? So what I would suggest is not to wait until you have all your products and your welcome kit to really even get started, especially for those of you that know that you want to at least get products paid for. In other words, you hit that join button because you knew the opportunity was there to make money in some way. If that's just paying for products, or if that is actually creating a business and making a lot of money. So I'll go back a little bit. I would say, first of all, sit down and figure out your why. Why did you hit that join button? And that's going to morph over time. My first why was not for the business. It was to get my products paid for. That's why I chose wholesale. And it was to get the products at the cheapest price. So that would have been my very first why. And that would have been enough, though, to drive me to do some of the next steps. But if you figure out your why and really get that cemented. Maybe it is to bring a husband home or not working as many hours, or maybe it's just to get products paid for. Maybe it's to share with people that you already are thinking of in your mind that could use the products. But whatever it is, write that down and really focus on that. Write it somewhere where you can see it every day. Maybe it's on the top of a notebook that you or on the top of a notebook that you write in every day, or on your phone somewhere. Just something that it is in front of you. And like I said, that continues to morph and continues to grow, and that's completely fine. Write it down and understand it. And then from there, like I said, that's going to be the driver behind your business. From there, because one of the only ways to really make money with this business is to share. So you're going to have to talk about it. Nobody's going to really use your website unless they know that you have a website to use, right? So who are you going to share with? And they typically teach, or at least the ones that taught me, to make a list of 100 people. And it sounds like a lot, but it's amazing when you sit down and you start thinking through friends, relatives, neighbors, acquaintances, up and down your street, people that probably haven't heard of it. If you have kids in school, other mothers in school, teachers, and start thinking of people who in your mind would be better at this than you are. And that doesn't mean a better person, but just somebody that's influential, somebody that has got great connecting skills, somebody that you can think of that is often sharing their ideas. And that would be for people to come alongside you as ambassadors. Customers, of course, that's, that is kind of an easy one. We can almost automatically always think of people that we know of, because people talk about their pain, and they talk about their, especially close people, their health issues. So those will be the people that are on this list. And now that you've got a list, now you can start making your contacts. And everybody, I feel like everybody kind of finds what works for them. So what worked for me immediately was social media. And part of that was because I was already on social media quite a bit. So I put my first Facebook post up and instantly had people commenting and asking, because I had a lot of people who I interacted with, so they were going to see what I was sharing. Now, for other people, it's more comfortable to pick up the phone and make a phone call. Maybe it's more comfortable for you to actually talk person to person, have a coffee date. So you kind of find the avenue that works the best for you. And I feel like the bigger or the more that you use, the more well-rounded you'll be. So Facebook works for me, but I try to make sure that I implement these other ways, that I still pick up the phone, that I still talk to that person that's behind the cash register at the checkout, or that I meet a new friend for coffee and it comes into conversation. But you use that list of 100 people and you start making your contacts. Before your products come, if you're really, really new here and you haven't even gotten your welcome pack yet, before your products come, one thing that may sound scary, but I think is really effective, is to make your first Facebook post. Take a selfie, put on your post, hey, I have a friend, and you can even tag the friend who's been talking about these amazing products she's taking. I decided, I've got nothing to lose. This company has a 60-day money-back guarantee. And you can make this post whatever it is. Make it short, sweet, and kind of who's in this with me. Ask people to link arms with you. And then when they start commenting, now that you're new, you can put them into a message with your friend who has joined you up, and you've got instant third-party validation. You also have somebody who already has been using the products longer than you to take over in a way, or at least answer questions that you may not have learned yet. So that's a great way to kind of start, first of all, and even just get over the fear of posting that first social media post. And that is going to get your warm market, the ones that trust you, the ones that already trust what you say or want to hear what it is that you have to share. And that's what they call the warm market. And then once you've worked through that, then we have the cold market. And to be honest, I'm actually just now, after about 2 years, hitting the cold market. I feel like where I feel like a lot of my friends on Facebook, they obviously have all seen my posts. I've reached out to most of them. I've, extended family, I've reached out to them. And so now we're working with cold market, and that really is completely different. And Sandy, you might get into that a little more, what that looks like and how that works, because it is a different dynamic for sure. So another thing is make sure that you start interacting in the team pages. A team culture is something that is super valuable, and it means a lot to a lot of people once they start hearing the hearts and the amazing women that are on these teams. Just today, again, I was just overwhelmed. I was driving to the gym, and then I was in one of the IPA groups that I'm a part of. Or either it was my leaders group. Anyway, it was a message thread. It wasn't on my team page. Just overwhelmed at the amazing privilege that I have to get to do leadership with these women. One of the women just thanked me, and maybe she's on here. I'm trying to see. I don't see her right now. She just thanked me for answering all her questions. And I reminded her somebody answered my questions when I first got started. And it really is a huge privilege. It's the cycle of leadership, and it's a huge privilege to be able to do that with everybody here. You'll get your turn. You really will. I believe that. I believe as you start building teams yourselves, you guys are going to be the ones to answer the questions. So get on the team pages, interact, answer questions if you know them, give advice, or ask your own questions. Sandy, I'm trying to think here if there was something that I had missed there.
And I made it difficult.
One thing we talked about as well is doing a welcome Zoom within the first 24 hours with your newbies. But I think you're going to touch into that a little bit as well. Why don't you go ahead and if there's something you wanted to add on to what I said, and we'll just go vice versa there.
You mentioned a little bit about cold market, and I really don't have a lot of experience with that because I still have not. No, I guess I can say that I probably have touched everybody on my Facebook page, although I have an overwhelmingly big list of people on Facebook, and if most of them I've only ever contacted maybe once or twice. And so I feel like the cold market for me is something I really struggle with, except that I do intentionally, when I'm out and about in the grocery store, I listen to people's conversations. You can learn so much just by listening to people. And it's amazing how many people actually are amazed that you would take the time to acknowledge that the issue they're struggling with, or whatever they're dealing with at the moment. Owning my own consignment shop, I hear women all the time complaining, of course, that they're overweight, they're this, they're that, and just opens up the door, and it can be a complete stranger. Mm-hmm. Now, it's a little easier for me because, it's normally a one-on-one situation, but it'll be interesting once I really truly hit a cold market to see how well I'll do with that. I'm not a real expert in that, but as far as you mentioned doing a welcome Zoom within 24 hours, I had implemented that in my team last month, and we actually did one that was 6 levels deep, and it was so interesting to learn to know people, even in a 20 minutes to half an hour time, to learn to know that person. I feel like now, yes, I might not have many interactions with her, but if something comes up down the line, I feel like I kind of know that person just a little bit. I think it's very valuable for team camaraderie, team spirit, just working together and learning to know your downline. I know that some of the diamonds really stress getting to know level 1s and 2s very intimately, but I think it's still good to even go deeper than that. Now I am hopefully training some of my level 1s and 2s to duplicate the same thing. Even if the person isn't sure they want to do it as a business, I feel that it's very important to answer any questions right away, whether it's product-related questions, and maybe they are kind of curious about the business, but are kind of afraid to ask those questions. Here you can ask them, okay, so, where are you interested in the business? What are your goals? What are your why? And get them to talk about it, and they hear themselves. And we've had a few that have said, oh, well, I know this person, I know that person. They can name off a few people that they think might be interested, where before that they weren't sure they really were interested in the business. So I think it's just really good to get them started off correctly. Answering any questions up front. Of course, there'll be more questions down the road, but I think to try to get them to start thinking long term. And we just had a lot of fun doing them. I think that that was something for me personally was something I've enjoyed doing. Have you done any of that?
Yeah, and I agree with you. Every time I do it, I wonder why I don't do more of them. Because it is true. You get to vision cast for them and kind of help them understand what could be if they want. Again, what they do with it is up to them. But I remember when I joined, again, because I didn't join really to make this a business. I wanted to get my products paid for, but it was so overwhelming. You look at the comp plan, and even the ones that are numbered and colored, they take a while to actually digest and get through. And so when you can have these Zoom calls and really kind of take it apart for them, number one, they feel cared for and loved. You get to vision cast, and they now know that you are a person who cares about them, a person who is real, and the name, when it's, again, like you said, the name is familiar. I'm going to know what she looks like. I'm going to know what she sounds like, and I'm going to know what her goals are, because she's told me what her goals are. Which I forgot to mention that's another one, is to think through, what your goals are. Is it to be gold by a certain month? Is it to be senior gold by a certain month? And then to be able to, I like to hear what my ambassadors' goals are, because I remember when someone like Shelly and Kristen said, okay, well, what are your goals? And then they sat down with me and actually broke it apart. Well, that means you're going to have this many points by then, and that's this many points per month. That means this many points per week. And it just gives you kind of this clear vision to what it looks like to make that happen.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, absolutely. Going forward, some things that I feel is really important if you're really wanting to work your business, if you want to be successful. And of course, this is something that you probably should do early on when you start the process of building a team, is learning your back office. I have people that have been in it a year and a half, 2 years, and are still asking me questions about their back office. Now, granted, we only have the new office for a year, and some things have changed since, but learning to read your reports, I think, is so very important. Understanding what everything means, how to read it. Yes, it's time consuming, but what sacrifices are you willing to make to move forward? I noticed you were going to say something.
I was just going to ask you, do you have a great resource, like where to go to learn that, or did you just simply practice and learn on your own? Is there a video that you watched that helped you understand some of that? What was your success in really learning and digging into the back office?
Well, soon after the new office went live, there was a lot of people, Emerald, Sapphire ambassadors, that did YouTube trainings that I found very, very helpful. But I'm one of these that will just go and research and look through my back office till I figure out things. I mean, there's some things yet that I find a little bit more cumbersome, but you just have to play around with it till you figure it out. And if you're not quite sure, then ask your upline. And of course, if they don't know, they can even go higher up yet. But YouTube has lots of resources. You just Google or just put in there, back office training or anything. That's what I found to be very, very helpful. A few other things that I find is really key is to follow up monthly with all your level ones. I try to do that pretty early on in the month. Now, those of us that have a lot of level ones, sometimes that takes a little while to get down through the list, but it doesn't have to be a real long follow-up. It could just be a short Facebook message, text message, or, I try to intentionally call so many of my ambassadors every month. And then those I won't make a phone call the next month. I'll just do a quick text message or a Facebook follow-up. But I think, and there's not always a lot of conversation, a lot of dialogue, but it lets them know that you're checking in, you're invested in them. I do some level 2s as well, just because some of my level 1s have kind of fallen off. So I do go down to even some of my level 3s if I feel like they aren't being taken care of. But I can't stress enough follow up. That is just huge. And it was so awesome. Brenda has committed to start following up with me at the end of every month. And that's just huge. I mean, it's nothing real long or anything, but it was just nice that she checked in to see how I did with my goals and those kind of things. So it meant a lot to me. So that is another thing that I find very, very important. Attending monthly meetings. I host a monthly meeting every month. Of course, November was an exception. Getting your guests there, but even if you don't bring guests, just getting there, learning new things about the products, and it just shows that you're committed. And we realize that things come up, but get there as often as you can. And that's where I feel like that's where I grew the most, is coming to your meetings when you had them. I just loved it. Sometimes there was a lot of people there and sometimes there wasn't. And that was okay. Did I hear a lot of the same things? Yes, but there was always something new that I learned. Hearing those testimonies was huge. It built belief. Mm-hmm. And so, yes, I just always thoroughly enjoyed coming to your meetings.
And I think if you're in an area where maybe there's not meetings weekly or monthly, or there's not the events to go to, a great thing to do is just simply set aside time where you're watching diamond documentaries. You're watching some of, like Sonia Dudley and actually a lot of the diamonds have their own YouTube channels where they have hours and hours and hours of training if you want to watch them. Mm-hmm. And so that can be your own, like that can be in place of a meeting. I know I just watched, when I first got started, I watched Lori Harrison. She calls herself the Fungus Queen. She, for some reason, her videos on the products really resonated with me. And I would just watch them over and over again. And the repetition, the verbiage and all of that really kind of helped me then when I was talking about it to know what I wanted to say and how to say it. So if there's a meeting close by, definitely get there, but that's not an excuse not to learn. There's definitely lots and lots and lots on YouTube. Find the diamond that you resonate with and just seek her out. Find what she has to say and what she's already recorded.
Yes, absolutely. And the other thing is a lot of teams do monthly Zooms. I know our team does actually a weekly Zoom. So if there isn't a local meeting, plug into your team Zooms. Because there's always such good information. And I so agree with you. Listening to diamond documentaries and there's a lot of motivational speakers. Les Brown, I love his things on YouTube, that if I'm just needing some motivation and things to listen to him. Some things that you can do to start off 2017. I know we kind of made this, how can you start 2017 strong? Maybe revisit your why, your goals, write them down, plaster them around your house. I've got I was probably in it about 6 months, and Brenda had us, I was in a challenge with her, and we had to write out 3 goals / motivational things, and I have them still taped around my house. Some of them are almost falling off the walls by now, but it's amazing how many times I actually read them, and it has just been very, very helpful. Mm-hmm. Start planning your month ahead of time. I know for me that's very, very helpful. I printed out the new daily IPA stack sheets that Kristen, I believe it was, and somebody else maybe had put together. And I went to the UPS store and I had them bound, 3 months worth bound together. And then now, did I do them every day? No. And I put dates on them when I did do them. So that way they're all together. And you can work a week ahead for all the context if that's how you function better. For me, sometimes that works. Getting that daily IPA in. Buffer. If for some of you newer ones, maybe that don't know about some of these social media sites where you can set up daily postings, Buffer is a great one to set out. I think it's 10 days worth of posts. Things for information, the Plexus Power Tools. It's $10 a year. I have referred to that so many times for information, and it's just a wealth of information you can send to your customers, ambassadors. There's graphics, there's all kinds of stuff on there that makes life so much easier. And a little bit about a power hour. When I did this consistently for a month, it was so amazing, but I would set aside about a half hour every morning before going to work that I would do my devotions, read a little bit of a motivational book, do my daily IPA, get my 5 to 10 contacts in, and then of course I did some follow-up during the day too. But when I consistently did that, I felt like my business grew so much faster. So those are just some suggestions, some ideas of things that might help to start strong in 2017. Of course, everybody has their own little, they find things that works for them. Just because it works for me to do that doesn't mean that'll work that way for you. Find what works for you. Get a schedule. Get a planner that works for you. And if anybody has any great ideas for one for me, that's not terribly expensive since I didn't earn one. I'm always up for new suggestions. So anything else you wanted to add with that, Mary June?
Yeah, I thought of something. I remember when I was probably between silver and gold, Brenda Martin came to Pennsylvania. It was one of the first times that she was there, or maybe the first time she was there that I remember. And we got to spend an afternoon with her, a lunch with her. And for those of you that have met her, she is the sweetest, probably in my top 5 of the diamonds. Just love spending time with her. She's a mother to 11, just a rock star. And I remember one question I asked her. I said, so what is one thing that you do consistently that you won't go to bed before you have done? And she didn't even pause very much. She just said, I don't go to bed before I've contacted 3 new people a day. And that doesn't mean it has to be, hey, are you interested in Plexus? It's just starting 3 conversations with people a day. She said she's so consistent, and I don't know if she's still like that, but she was a diamond back then. She said she's so consistent that there has been times that she's been in bed and she's thought about that she's only gotten 2 done, and she's gotten out of bed, gone to her computer, and gotten 1 more in. So, sometimes I wonder, what is the difference between the diamonds and some of us? And they're people just like us. Number 1, they've had way more no's than what we have had from people saying no. Number 2, they've talked to a lot more people than we have so far. And number 3, I think they just really, some of those things are so consistent and have laser focus. And maybe your goal is not to be diamond, but figure out what your goal is and then figure out how to get to that goal, whatever it is. But I just thought that was really interesting. Of all the things she could have said, that was one thing she said, is she contacts people every single day. And we are a people business. We really are. And we have to get out in front of people in order to have them know that that's what we do and that's what we're passionate about.
Yes, absolutely. We're in a relationship business, and the contacts I've been making this week through this new group that I'm in haven't been totally about Plexus and building relationships. Something else I thought of, now I lost my train of thought. Was there anything else that you thought of that you would like to add?
One thing on cold market as well. Again, there's some people that actually enjoy cold market even more than warm market. I had one girl that I met, and she said she feels much more comfortable talking to people she doesn't know about the products and handing things out. You know, she has business cards that she staples packets of Slim to, and she just loves meeting people out and about and handing them something that she feels is adding value to them, and she gets their information and all of that. And for me, that's something I had to learn, and I still am. I mean, it's something I'm kind of a taste I'm acquiring. It wasn't comfortable for me, but moving to where we did kind of forced me into it, in that everybody I was meeting was a new friend. And one thing I realized was that I underestimated that people, or in my mind, by default, I had just expected that people didn't want to know about me. And it's not the truth. People who you meet, even if they're not friends yet, typically one of the first questions they'll ask is, what do you do? And I've just started saying, I'm with an amazing health and wellness company. Oh, well, what is it? Plexus. Oh, what's Plexus? And then is like, you haven't heard, you know, and so then you can show all that excitement. But it's been a brand new experience for me, a lot more fun than I expected. And I now just wish I would have been more bold even before my warm market was exhausted. So I think it's something that you can do simultaneously. You can be working a warm market, but you can also, every time you're out and about, you know, you're in contact with people all the time, just slip that postman that you meet out that's bringing you a packet of Slim, or again, you're adding value to people's lives. And that has been a lot of fun. Like I said, it's something that I was scared of, and I didn't think it would be something I'd enjoy as much as I am. So get out of your comfort zone. And I think it was Sonia Dudley that said, just get over yourself and try something new.
Exactly. Oh, I know what I was going to say. Kristen did mention something this week in the Ruby's group about sacrifice. What are you willing to sacrifice to get where you want to go? Do I really sacrifice? Some I had to think about. I'm like, what have I really sacrificed? How much have I really sacrificed to get where I am, and what am I willing to sacrifice to get where I want to go? And I think that's a challenge that till the end of this year, I'm going to sit down and write out, what am I willing to give up? What am I willing to change? What changes am I willing to make to get to Emerald so I can go to Hawaii next fall? Like, I am going to go. Like, I am determined to go. So what sacrifice, what am I willing to change in my life? Family is very, very important. And I want all of you to hear that everybody has their own Priorities, yes. Thank you. And family is very, very important. And it's hard to sometimes find that balance of how much time to work the business. But are you going to take the next year and work really, really hard and sit down with your children and say, okay, I know Brenda, this is something she's told me numerous times, that they sat down as a family and said, okay, children, these are some of the sacrifices we're going to have to make as a family so that we can get to this point, so then we can have that time to spend together doing fun things and have the finances to do the things that we want to do as a family. So that really made me stop and think. It's like, wow, you know what? I haven't really sacrificed a whole lot. And what am I willing to sacrifice to get to where I want to go?
Yeah, I thought that was very timely as well. I actually had the conversation with my husband last night, and it's going to make a difference in how we plan out 2017 for sure. And if you have a family that you have children, I think the ownership that they feel in your success then is really huge.
Yeah.
To have them be able to see you set a goal and that they know they have a small part to play in you reaching those goals, be it sacrifice or, maybe for a year we're not going to have the most amazing home cooked meals. But that's okay. This is why. And to explain it, maybe for 6 months, mama's going to travel a lot and going to try to build up her team, but this is why. And so when you get up and you pack your siblings' lunches, you're helping this goal come to pass. Mm-hmm. And so, yeah, exactly. And one thing she mentioned as well in this video, which is amazing, that we have a company that we can get to the points that we are, no matter where you're at, with little sacrifice, mm-hmm. if that's what you feel you've done. Mm-hmm. That's an amazing, incredible, and if that's where you're happy and that's where you want to stay, that's that. But if you have a goal that you want to set, are you willing to sacrifice? Are you willing to do what it takes? Are you willing to give up some things in order for this goal to come to pass? And I don't think it has to be a long-term giving up for it to work.
Right, absolutely. Well, I see we are over the half an hour here, but I just so enjoyed this time, and I'm hoping that you could go away with a few things to start off 2017 good and strong. And we just want to encourage you all just to keep plugging away and keep reaching out, loving on people, connecting with people, building those relationships, because, yeah, that is just going to be key. I see that as being a huge part of everybody's success, is building relationships and taking that time to listen to people. And no, you might not become great friends with them, but you never know where it might lead.
And January is typically in the health and wellness industry, a very big month. So start thinking now about some of those things, some of those goals, some of the people you might want to reach out to. Everybody's off those holiday highs and kind of into a slump, and they're ready for something to make them feel good. So I'm excited. I'm super excited for 2017. I have some goals already set, and I'm writing some things down. I'm taking December to really plan out the first part of the year. So
yes, absolutely. Yeah. All right.